All right, Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is going to be for January 4th through the 10th of 2016. My name is Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to this type of astrology, do check the description down below because the signs are different. All right, Sagittarius, so a lot going on this week. We've got a new moon on Saturday in your first house of Sagittarius. We've got Mercury going retrograde here in your first, and we've got Jupiter going retrograde a little bit later in the week around Thursday and Friday. So with that's already quite the hefty astrological stuff going on, but also with all these aspects, as you can see here this week, really piling it on. So I'm going to go through this quite briefly. If you have any questions, do comment down below. And let's go ahead and get started right here on Tuesday when we got Mercury going retrograde in your first. So first of all, perhaps there's been a lot of focus on your goals. Happy birthday to those of you who have your birthdays this week watching for your sun sign. But maybe on your goals, on expanding your horizons, on your self-image, things like this, which is usually the sun in the first, but also Mercury has been in your first. So now with Mercury station going retrograde, it's a good time for the next few weeks to really re-examine your goals, re-examine where you're headed, how your life is unfolding, who you are, how you present yourself, self-image, things like that, and even to a degree your relationships, because Mercury does rule your seventh house, and even your career as well. And that's usually the case when Mercury goes retrograde, is you do want to bring that extra reflection and perhaps rehashing and redoing your perspective on your one-to-one connections and maybe even the career stuff. But here it's all involving maybe those goals around those areas and that self-willed energy with that. So with that, Mercury has been squaring up to Mars from that 10th. So maybe there is a lot of drive and ambition to put energy towards your career or anything on that big picture level, that future-oriented level. So it's a good time to be patient with a lot of this stuff. Now, this has really been the emphasis last week with this square really being drawn out. But this early part still finishing up with any type of hard work or patience, taking it slow. And it can be very grounding. It can be very integrating, in fact, and could be a good time for you to build any solid foundations with the career stuff or with your goals and stuff, but really through bringing that extra attention to who you are again with all this sort of pausing energy, as well as what your motivations truly are behind the 10th house stuff. And usually too, Mars rules your 12th and your 5th, so it's been important to bring extra attention also to your self-expression and your spiritual time out. So that's the early part of the week. Also here on Tuesday, Venus does square up to Neptune, so usually this is actually quite positive in its feeling because Venus is a benefic. But it's important to stay grounded with Venus square transits, and specifically when it's involving Neptune. Sometimes we can get very dreamy, very imaginative. I mean, it can be very positive. We can gain a lot of insights, can perhaps be romantic on a level too with our relationships. But specifically for you, it's been maybe more of this enjoyment lately to get that alone time, to take it easy with Venus in that 12th. Now, it's still a serious area. That spiritual time out, your spirituality with Saturn in that 12th. But now with Venus here in the mix, it's really lifting that up. And it does have the tendency of making what once is quite serious with just Saturn alone a little bit more enjoyable with Venus. And Venus is going to go over Saturn later in the week. So there is more of that discipline and hard work to be put into maybe that alone time, that spirituality, that meditation, or whatever it is you're working hard at right now to connect to God and the universe. So with this though, on Tuesday, staying nice and grounded with a lot of the spiritual stuff, watching any extremes with maybe too much alone time, too much hiding away, or our fantasies about the daily stuff in some sense, maybe in regards to communications or maybe uncertainty about that, which can be the under extreme too. So the key with this is to just be patient with it and stay grounded. Stay grounded in the fact that spirituality does take hard work, it does take discipline, and all of that sort of Saturn in the 12th energy. So that's the early part of the week. And then as we go to the middle part, the sun does go over Pluto and then squares up to Uranus midweek. So here with this, it's really segueing this new moon because the new moon is going to be involving these aspects. And as we approach it, which will be on Saturday, the new moon that is, it's going to be open to change. Right, it's going to be important to have an openness to change. Pluto's been transiting your first house for a very long time. A lot of your guys' self-image, your goals, your life path has been changing quite a bit. And now it's another new beginning with that. And so as you approach this new moon, great to be open with that. Really be open to what's possible. Be open to changing your philosophy, changing your worldview. I think it'll naturally change with the sun going over Pluto in your first house, because the sun does rule your ninth. And watch any extremes too, because the sun will be squaring up to Uranus. So there's perhaps been this wanting to break free and do some new things, some exciting things with home or with family or with your health, wanting to revolutionize in some sense. And that's certainly something to listen to, but you do want to keep the balance. You do want to integrate that with whatever these new beginnings are involving your goals and how you're changing and being open to change, changing who you are on the emotional level, as well as being yourself in that nice, grounded way. So that's going to be a big emphasis the later part, especially around that new moon on Saturday. But also approaching that new moon, we do have Jupiter going retrograde, which is in that ninth house. So there's this shift now for about the next, roughly 5 months of reflection of your philosophy, of your worldview, of you in many ways too, because your ruler Jupiter goes retrograde once a year, and usually for a good chunk of the year. So it's more of the internal time period for you to reflect, maybe redo some things, maybe redo things around home, with family, since Jupiter rules your fourth. But here, really reflecting on your life path. How can you expand your horizons? How can you have more of that freedom there through seeing what's possible in life, right? Integrating that. So it's almost like a lot of things are just shifting with you, this week, because it's your ruler going retrograde. You got a new moon in your first house. Mercury's retrograde in your first house. A lot of this reflection, rehashing and shifting with who you are. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of you, it's just a new you coming out from a lot of this. But it's a good time to continuously reflect on it, especially over these next few weeks with Mercury retrograde in the first. Now on Friday, the sun does sextile to Chiron, so it could be some healing energy, maybe specifically involving that life view and that world view. Then Venus, like I said, goes over Saturn in the first, so it could be good for enjoying that more disciplined approach to spirituality. And then the new moon on Saturday, which is going to be those new beginnings with you, with your goals for both the next 4 weeks and the next 6 months. That new you emerging and taking it nice and slow during this period, because the new moon is about planting seeds, being malleable, trying new things, and again, reflecting. It's certainly a week of reflecting in many regards, but really being open to change with the life path, with you, and being open to having that grounded sense of freedom with who you truly are in life. All right, Sagittarius, so have a great week. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.